Welcome to It the Photographer, a tour of North Korea. My name is Joseph, I am an American, and I had the rare opportunity to lead 10 trips into North Korea as a tour guide and company representative between 2011 and 2014. During that time, I captured an archive of over 50,000 photos, some of which I'll share with you here. This channel is not about sensationalism or propaganda, on either side. It's about presenting a grounded, thoughtful look at North Korea through the lens of my experiences during those years. The images you'll see aim to tell a more nuanced story, bridging the monumental and the mundane, the ideological and the human. In this first episode, I will present a general orientation of Pyongyang as we explore elevated views of the city captured from iconic vantage points like the Yanggakdo Hotel, the Juche Tower, and the Grand People's Study House. From these perspectives, the city reveals its contrasts: grand monuments and modernist skyscrapers side by side with humble streets and everyday activity. Let's begin this journey together. As we rise above Pyongyang, the city's duality comes into focus. On one hand, its skyline is dominated by monumental landmarks such as the Juche Tower and the Ryugyang Hotel, symbols of national pride and ideological power. These structures project a carefully crafted narrative of strength and modernity. But zoom in, and a different story emerges. Beneath the towering facades lie quieter streets, modest homes, and the rhythms of daily life. These images capture a city that is not just a political stage but also a lived space, where history and human resilience coexist. The Ryugyang Hotel, nicknamed the Hotel of Doom in Western media, is more than just an iconic piece of architecture. It's a towering metaphor for North Korea's ambitions and challenges. Designed in the 1980s to rival South Korea's growing global influence, construction halted in the 1990s amid economic turmoil following the collapse of Soviet support. By the time I took this photo in 2012, the hotel's exterior had been completed by an Egyptian firm, giving it a polished look. Yet its interior remained unfinished, a powerful symbol of North Korea's efforts to project strength despite internal struggles. Standing before it, I couldn't help but reflect on the city's broader narrative, a showcase of grand ideals juxtaposed against the realities of stagnation and isolation. This sunrise view of the Taedong River feels like a snapshot of Pyongyang's layered identity. In the foreground, boats and dredges navigate the waters, reflecting the labor that sustains the city and nation. In the distance, the Juche Tower rises, a beacon of ideological pride. The interplay between the river's natural rhythm and the city's monumental ambitions captures the essence of Pyongyang during my visits. Early morning haze softens the stark lines of the architecture, blending them into the landscape. It's a view that feels both serene and profound, offering a rare moment of quiet introspection in a city defined by its contrasts. From the Juche Tower, we see one of Pyongyang's most striking landmarks, the monument to party founding. Its hammer, sickle, and writing brush symbolize workers, farmers, and intellectuals, the ideological backbone of North Korean society. Surrounding the monument are apartment blocks that speak to the city's dual identity. While the monument represents bold political aspirations, the apartments tell quieter stories of everyday life. Some buildings are worn with age, while others show fresh coats of paint, subtle evidence of change amidst continuity. These layers of Pyongyang reveal a city built not just to impress as an ideological showcase, but also to provide for the lives of its people. This aerial shot offers a bird's-eye view of Kim Il-sung Square, one of the most recognizable spaces in Pyongyang. The portraits of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il dominate the scene, watching over the square where countless military parades and orchestrated spectacles have taken place. But in this moment the square is serene, with scattered groups of individuals traversing its vast expanse. The sense of scale is immense, as the people appear almost miniature against the imposing architectural framework. The stillness captured here contrasts sharply with the square's global image as a stage for displays of power and unity. It invites the viewer to consider the quieter moments of this space, beyond the parades and propaganda. From the viewing balcony of the Grand People's Study House, the view of Kim Il-sung Square and the Juche Tower is undeniably striking. The symmetry and scale are a testament to Pyongyang's monumental urban design. Yet, unlike the overwhelming formality of a mausoleum visit or the reverence of laying flowers at the grand statues of Kim Il-sung, this scene feels different. It's grand but not alien. Here, life continues in its ordinary rhythms. On any given day you will likely spot people enjoying leisure activities on the Taedong River, sailing, rowing, and perhaps even water skiing. And if you allow me a ground-level view of the square, we encounter intimate moments amid the grand ideological backdrop. A local photography vendor captures portraits of visitors, offering props like artificial flowers, a wooden rocking horse, and even a snowman doll. These touches add unexpected color and joy, providing a playful contrast to the often somber portrayal of North Korea in Western media. Though this scene centers on local families, as Western tourists, we could have easily joined in for a photo ourselves with a little help from our North Korean guide, who facilitated such interactions. This set of photos was taken during my final trip in late 2013, as we approached the 2014 New Year's holiday. This visit was the culmination of my realization of how much more Pyongyang and North Korea had to offer than the sensationalized images often depicted in the West. These personal moments of connection quietly punctuated the otherwise monumental landscape, revealing a different side of the city and its people. But let's take to the skies again. Looking northwest from atop the Juche Tower, we see the Changjan Street high-rises. Completed in less than a year, they are an impressive feat of speed-oriented construction in the heart of Pyongyang. Their sleek, cylindrical designs stand in stark contrast to the utilitarian structures typical of earlier North Korean architecture, evoking comparisons to modern Asian metropolises like Shenzhen. Known colloquially as Pyonghatan among foreign observers, the 18-tower complex symbolizes the regime's desire to project an image of prosperity and modernity. However, the realities of their use and functionality hint at contradictions beneath the surface. Reports tell of broken foundations and lack of functioning elevators, raising questions about their livability, especially for residents on the upper floors. Yet at night, the towers shine brightly with elaborate LED lighting, creating a dazzling visual spectacle for visitors and locals alike. These contrasts underscore Changjan Street's dual purpose, as a residential area and as a carefully curated showcase of national pride. As an outpost of Pyongyang's ambitions, the street serves as a stage to broadcast progress and modernization, even while its practicalities may leave much to be desired for the people living within. Gazing north from atop the Juche Tower, we see the Taedong River flowing quietly to the left. The riverbank is lined with pedestrian paths, tree-shaded walkways, parks, and recreational spaces. In this area, you will find the Golden Lanes bowling alley and the exhibition hall and nursery for the national flowers, the Kim Il-sungia and Kim Jong-gilia. Along the riverbank parks, you will also find more recently built recreational complexes, such as the Rungra Roller Skating Park, the Rungra Health and Sports Complex, and the Munsu Water Park. In the distance, the imposing May Day Stadium rises on Rungra Island, a subtle reminder of the regime's monumental ambitions, even amidst this more subdued urban landscape. As we gaze to the right and toward the eastern outskirts of the city, we begin to catch a glimpse of the everyday side of Pyongyang, far removed from its carefully curated iconic landmarks. Stretching out before us are rows of utilitarian apartment blocks, many bearing the muted pastel hues typical of North Korean architecture. These buildings form the backbone of the city's housing stock, representing the practical needs of its residents rather than the regime's aspirations for grandeur. This side of Pyongyang, to the east and beyond the riverside recreational sites, is an area rarely, if ever, visited by tourists. Tour groups typically adhere to tightly curated routes, and no tourist bus would meander through these streets en route to Kaesong or Wonsan. While embassies and diplomatic infrastructure are located here, much of the district remains a mystery, hidden behind its utilitarian architecture and the constraints of limited access. Beyond the occasional school or hospital glimpsed in passing, these neighborhoods represent an enigmatic side of the capital, one that is seldom explored or understood. To reside in Pyongyang is itself a privilege. Families living here are not only considered politically reliable but have undergone generational vetting to confirm their loyalty. The capital is reserved for the most trusted members of society, a system that underscores the stratified structure of North Korean life. Visitors might, on occasion, be shown a model apartment, an idealized display of modern amenities meant to impress outsiders. But one cannot help but wonder what daily life is like in these less showy apartment blocks on the periphery of the city. From this vantage point, the colorful facades of the buildings suggest an effort to project optimism and modernity. Yet, as with much of Pyongyang, questions linger just below the surface. While you won't see rows of outhouses like those found next to apartment blocks in provincial cities, the reliability of water and plumbing services in these suburban districts remains uncertain. For all the privilege that comes with living in Pyongyang, life here is likely shaped by the same infrastructural challenges that persist across the country. What do the interiors of these homes reveal? How do families adapt to the realities of life in Pyongyang, even with their privileged status? These are questions that linger in my mind every time I look at these images. They are a reminder of the layers of complexity that define this city, its grandeur and its shadows, its privilege and its constraints. This zoomed-in view of Pyongyang apartment balconies offers a revealing look into daily life and the pragmatic use of space by residents. The image showcases how the small outdoor areas of these apartments are utilized, often serving as makeshift storage spaces for household items, firewood, and even small-scale gardening. The peeling paint and weathered walls hint at the aging infrastructure, a common characteristic of many residential buildings in the city, especially those constructed during earlier decades of North Korea's socialist period. Each balcony tells its own story. Some are neatly organized with pots, tools, and basic furniture, while others appear cluttered with an assortment of personal belongings. This scene subtly highlights the resourcefulness of residents, adapting their limited space for practical needs. It also reflects broader socio-economic conditions. Despite the city's modernization in some areas under Kim Jong-un, many buildings continue to bear the marks of prolonged economic challenges. Let us zoom in on a neighborhood park and explore its social dynamics in more detail. This photo captures a playground in a Pyongyang neighborhood, likely intended as a colorful and bustling communal space for children and families. However, the design reveals layers of North Korea's unique approach to integrating ideology into daily life. The cheerful setting contrasts with underlying propaganda, visible in the mural depicting cartoon soldiers and the military-themed elements like the bear sculptures at the entrance. This deliberate messaging reminds children of their role within the state's militaristic framework, even during play. The presence of vent structures and inconspicuous entryways hints at possible underground facilities. These could range from mundane uses like maintenance access or storage to more strategic purposes such as command centers or bomb shelters. Given Pyongyang's focus on subterranean infrastructure for civil defense, this raises questions about the park's connection to the broader urban planning of the city. Central to life in these neighborhoods is the Inminbin system, or people's units. These grassroots organizations serve as the backbone of North Korea's surveillance state. Each Inminbin is a local administrative unit responsible for monitoring the daily lives of its residents, ensuring their adherence to state ideology and participation in prescribed activities. Residents are expected to attend meetings, carry out communal duties, and report any signs of dissent within their unit. The Inminbin leader, often a trusted local figure, acts as a liaison to higher authorities, ensuring compliance with state directives. In Pyongyang, these units play a key role in maintaining the city's ideological purity, as the population is largely composed of families with established political loyalty. This system extends to the city's neighborhoods, where residents enjoy more privileges but are also more closely monitored. The Inminbin thus reflects the state's desire for absolute control over its citizens, even in their private spaces. Let us finish our skyview orientation of Pyongyang with a southwest gaze from the Angakdo International Hotel. In the foreground, we find the International Cinema Hall, an important cultural venue in Pyongyang. It hosts significant events such as the Pyongyang International Film Festival, where North Korean films and selected international films are showcased. The cinema hall's brutalist architecture stands out, embodying the functional yet monumental style seen in many North Korean structures. Beyond the cinema hall, we can spot the Angakdo Stadium, and further in the distance, the Tungil Street apartments. These impressive residential towers were constructed in the early 1990s, during a challenging period following the collapse of the Soviet Union. Despite the economic difficulties of the time, the Tungil Street apartments were built as a symbol of the country's ability to provide modern housing, demonstrating both resilience and national pride in the face of external and internal struggles. Tungil Street, translating to Unification Street, reflects North Korea's vision of Korean reunification under its leadership. The street's grand scale, with its wide boulevards and prominent high-rises, was intended to project power and modernity to both domestic and international audiences. Its very name and ambitious design echo ideological themes of strength and unity, tying the development to broader narratives of state determination and aspiration. Far in the distance, the East Pyongyang thermal plant stands as a critical piece of industrial infrastructure, supporting the city's energy needs. This imposing structure underscores the regime's reliance on coal as a primary resource, serving both practical power generation and as a symbol of self-reliance amidst international sanctions and resource scarcity. The plant's significance extends beyond its function, evoking memories from the celebrations of Kim Il-sung's 100th birthday in 2012. During that momentous occasion, long convoys of coal trucks were visible on the roads and highways of outer Pyongyang, delivering the fuel required to keep the plant operational during heightened energy demands. These trucks, laden with black coal, represented the unseen labor underpinning the city's carefully curated displays of grandeur. The juxtaposition of this vital industrial hub with Pyongyang's ideological monuments highlights the duality of the capital, a city that projects strength and pride while grappling with the realities of sustaining its infrastructure to simply keep its lights on. Thank you for joining me on this first step of our journey through North Korea, as seen through my lens. Revisiting these photos has reminded me of the contrasts and complexities I experienced during my time there. From the monumental to the everyday, these images offer a glimpse into a country often seen only through one-dimensional narratives. This project is a personal journey for me, a chance to reflect on a unique chapter of my life and share it with those curious about the stories these photos tell. Whether it's uncovering new details in an image or connecting moments to broader historical and cultural contexts, I hope these videos can spark thought and curiosity. This is just the beginning. I'll be diving deeper into specific themes, places, and experiences in future episodes, so if this perspective resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe and join me as we explore more of this archive together. For now, I'll leave you with this image, a simple yet poignant moment of North Korean children waving, a reminder of the shared humanity behind the headlines. Until next time, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in the videos to come.